Good evening, everyone. So when I say, whose money is it? I want you to say, it's my money. Whose money is it?
It's my money.
Whose money is it?
It's my money.
If y'all, that loudest voice, that is Mr. It's My Money in the flesh. So with that being said, I'm so excited to have this conversation. One of my financial BFFs, Rahkim, and I are going to talk about money and mental health. So if you've seen this advertisement across social media, we talked about how these two subjects intersect with one another. So before I get too deep into that, let me tell you a little bit about who Patrina is. So my name is Patrina Dixon. I am a certified financial education instructor, a registered financial consultant. I'm a mom and a wife. And most importantly, while you're here today, I love talking about personal finance. And sometimes people ask me, or maybe often people ask me, why do I do this? Why do I even get started? One of the reasons why I got started is learning about personal finance changed my life. It literally transformed my life. I actually made a lot of money and continued to grow and climb the corporate ladder, but I spent money as soon as I made money. I thought having a house in a nice neighborhood, this is actually West Hartford is the town that I actually lived in. I paid for my daughter to go to school. I owned what I would call the finer things in life. But if my employer didn't directly deposit one of those paychecks, everything could have blown up because I relied on each of those paychecks to come in every other week. There was no other sources. Even though they were nice size, there was also expenses tied to those that sometimes were greater. So I said to myself, I needed to learn how to do money differently. I wanted to manage it better. I wanted to earn it without actually doing an action. So making that passively. And I wanted to have different streams because eventually I want to no longer have to work. And I wanted that to be sooner than age 70. So I began to learn how to manage money well. I learned it from other people before me. And then I wanted to be who I followed, who I watched, who I learned from. I want all of you to now see me as that person. So that's when I started on the path of learning how to do mine differently and then learning and becoming registered, certified, accredited, so that when I stand before you, know it's not just my personal experience. I'm also certified to teach you what I teach people when I teach people every day. So that's who I am in a nutshell. And then my topic today that I'll talk about, and Rahkim will come and talk about the topic that he is going to talk about, and then we'll merge those together, is when you master money management, you can transform your life in a way that will be mind-blowing to you. There's many different ways to do that, and one of the most important ways is not making 6 and 7 figures. That's nice, but people have made even more than that, and then when that money stopped coming in, or even while it was coming in, they were losing control because the money was going out the door. They were buying cars and homes and houses, and then what they were doing to earn the money went away, and they had nothing to show for it. So the point I'm making here is that you have to master what I call the financial fundamentals. You cannot build a house starting with a roof. You have to build a house with a solid foundation and begin to put cement down, begin to put the walls on, and then you put the roof. And then you have something that's not shaky. So that's what we want to talk about today is money, not just making it or earning it, ways to do it, many ways to get it in, and mastering the fundamentals. So with that being said, thank you for being here, and I'll turn it over to Rahkim.
Good afternoon, everybody. If you can't hear me, let me know because I have a problem projecting. I talk very low. But my name is Rahkim Sabree. I'm going to tell you a little bit about me, and then we're going to talk about mental health and money. So I am an author. I'm a TED speaker, registered financial consultant, certified financial education instructor, and I'm a contributor to Forbes as of April of this year. And the topic that I write on, thank you. Thank you. And the topic that I write on is really the intersection of wealth, mental health, and race, which individually are taboo topics. So when those topics all come together, it creates a little bit of discomfort for people, particularly when we're talking about our money. Now, my financial story, I guess you can call it, started in childhood. I grew up in New York. My mom had Section 8. We had food stamps. I became conscious of this at probably the age 15. And I decided for myself that I was gonna go, and when I became an adult, get Section 8, get food stamps, repeat the cycle. It wasn't until I actually entered the financial services industry and banking in 2011 that I saw something different. I saw a peer who owned a home, and I said, oh, I can own property now. We started to have conversations openly about 401ks, about building credit, about credit scores. And these are things that I didn't talk about at home or with my peers. So when this realization occurred, I wanted to consume all of the financial content I could. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I read the Think and Grow Rich. You guys know the list, right? The Millionaire Next Door. All of these, we'll call them cliche topics, or titles rather. And I gained the financial literacy. I went out, I bought my house, I got the 850 credit score, and then everything kind of just like flatlined, right? It's like, all right, I did it, I arrived, now what? And that's where the mental health side of this conversation comes in. I think Patrina does a fantastic job talking about the financial fundamentals, and those things are important. But what happens often is we get caught up in, especially the social media hype of personal finance, and we start to establish goals and expectations for ourselves and for our families that don't necessarily align with our values, don't necessarily align with where we are psychologically. And so I'm going to introduce a new topic of financial trauma to you all tonight. But when we talk about the relationship between mental health and money, I want you to think about, and I'll ask you, when you hear budgeting, what is the first emotion that comes to your mind? Anybody? Limitations, not having enough? Can't have. So you start thinking about restrictions. And then what does that make you feel? Anxiety, okay. Depressed. I heard something over here. What did you say? Bound. So a lot of times these are negative feelings, negative emotions associated with this process of laying down the foundation, to Patrina's point. And so financial trauma is really an extreme version of this experience. So I define financial trauma a little bit differently than some of my peers in the financial therapy community. I define it as any instance observed or experienced that has a negative impact on the way that you view, interact with, or believe about money. I'm going to say that again. Financial trauma is any instance observed or experienced that has a negative impact on the way that you view, interact with, or believe about money. And so there's a spectrum that exists there, right? If you've experienced homelessness, if you've experienced repossession, if you've experienced job loss, that is a big source of financial trauma. But on the other side of that, if you've been scrolling on TikTok and you saw a 16-year-old tell you to dump all of your money into Dogecoin, and you did it, that's also a source of financial trauma. Or if you know somebody who did it and they called you and they're like, hey, I lost my life savings because I invested in Dogecoin. You may now think, okay, I'm never gonna invest in Dogecoin, I'm never gonna invest in cryptocurrency. That's financial trauma. And so sustained trauma through either your own experience or somebody else's experience will have a lasting impact on the way that you believe, interact with, or view money. And so when we talk about these fundamentals and we talk about the goals that we establish based off of those fundamentals, we have to think about what are our goals, what are our true goals, and how are they aligned to the values that we have? Are we going after these milestones, if you will, because somebody else told us that we should be, or is because that's something that we believe in? So when we get into our activity, we're going to talk about, we have 3 questions, I believe, where we're going to talk about how money makes us feel. We're going to talk about the making money process, right? And maybe how we navigate those things. Some of my background, I talked about being a registered financial consultant. I talked about being a certified financial education instructor. But most of the time these days, I focus on the mental health side of money. And so I'm in the process of sitting for the accredited financial counseling designation. And eventually I will go on to become a financial therapist. We have a financial therapist in the room, everybody. And so this, are you a financial therapist as well? We have 2 financial therapists in the room. Congratulations. And the reason why this topic is so important is because financial therapy is an emerging field. So you guys may have all heard financial literacy before, but when you start talking about your emotions and how those emotions impact what you do or what you don't do with your money, that's a different conversation. And so we talk about within the financial counseling and financial therapy community, financial hoarding, right? I've worked with clients who will save intentionally greater than 50% of their income because they don't want to experience poverty again. That's a trauma response. On paper, it looks like a good thing. They're saving 50% of their income or more. But the reason why they're saving is the issue. And so we'll explore all of those things as we get into our groups. But I just wanted to stop and see if anybody had any questions, comments before we break. So far, so good. All right, so we're ready.
Wait, I have a question. Whose money is it? The reason why I want you to chant that is because as we talk through this, that's what you have to think about. When you are the best steward of your money, when you think about it that way, you don't want anything to happen to it. You don't want to be doing it, what he just said, because of something that happened before. You want to understand your why. You want to know that you're the best keeper of it. So that's what this is all about, knowing that whose money is it? And I'm going to do right by it. I'm going to think about it in the right way. So that's what this session is about. So that's what I want to do. As you think about the questions, because we do want some questions, think about it that way. It's my money. What do I want to ask the experts before me about it from a financial trauma perspective or a foundational perspective, so that you can get some answers today, or we can get dialogue started, because that's actually what we wanted. It's not just about us talking to you about who we are and what we do. It's about understanding what's going on, what are you thinking about, and that we can try to help unpack some of that.
Yeah, and I'll add to, I hate this phrase, but it's necessary, that this is a safe space, right? So we want to remove the shame, the guilt, the fear of these conversations, from these conversations, right? Be honest, be vulnerable, be open. Nobody here is going to judge you. And in having these open conversations, you might realize something about yourself that you didn't realize previously.
Yeah. And you're here, you're all here. And I love saying that when I go in, I'm in a lot of rooms, and I want to ensure that people are not beating themselves up about what happened before. Some have come far to sit in this room today. So put your phones away, unless you're taking photos of us, but put your phones away and really get into the time, because this is what we want. We want you to be really engaged into what's talking about it. You've made the time. We want these couple hours to be impactful, and the only way that can happen is you all be engaged. And because you're here, I know you want to be for a reason, regardless if it's just to support. People that come to support also are interested in the topic. So we appreciate you for that, and engagement will be extremely helpful.
All right.